President-elect Donald Trump right now showing the world who is in charge as he ramps up his tough talk on terror, on business, and now on nukes. There is a new sheriff in town, and it is no longer business as usual. He's making that clear. I'm Trish Regan. Welcome, everyone, to the Intelligence Report. President-elect Donald Trump calling for an expansion of America's nuclear arsenal, tweeting, "The United States must greatly strengthen and expand its nuclear capability until such time as the world comes to its senses regarding nukes." And Mr. Trump reportedly went on to say, "Let it be an arms race," vowing America will win the race. Those comments coming after Russian President Vladimir Putin said his country needs to ramp up its nuclear forces. You know, we've seen it with China and now Russia. President-elect Donald Trump not taking a back seat here when it comes to issues of America's safety. Here's what Sean Spicer, who has just been named the next White House press secretary, had to say about all of it.
Other countries are talking about, not just Russia, but others, have talked about increasing their nuclear capacity. This president's not going to sit back and let other countries do that and have America sit on the sidelines. He's going to put America's security first and foremost. And so it's a warning to other nations around the globe that, as he put in that tweet, unless you come to your senses, America's not going to sit back and take this action lightly.
Joining me right now, Fox News contributor and former Deputy Chief of Staff to President George W. Bush, Karl Rove. Karl, always good to see you.
Morning.
What's your take on this right now? Because this is a different strategy, obviously, than anything we've seen in the last 8 years, but it's different than a lot of politicians in that he's like, okay, we may be sort of friends with Russia, or we may be trying to be friends with Russia, but I'm going to up my ante as much as they're up in theirs.
Yeah. Well, first of all, let's put this in a little bit of context, because there are two words here that we got to be careful about. One is modernize or strengthen, and the other one is expand. Under the New START Treaty of 2010, within about a year and a few months, both the United States and Russia are bound by treaty to reduce the number of vehicles, ICBMs, land and sea-based intercontinental ballistic missiles and strategic bombers to 700, and the number of warheads to about 1,550. Now, right now, we've got more vehicles than the Russians do. We got close to 700. They got 500 and some odd. So, but more importantly, we have a technological advantage that comes from the fact that the Soviets, the Russians, last modernized their weapons in the late 70s and early 80s, and we last modernized our weapons in the late 80s, early 90s. So we have a technological advantage. So what Russia has been doing the last couple of years is, within the cap set by the New START Treaty, 700 vehicles, 1,550 warheads. They've been modernizing their arsenal, and they've been using some threatening language. In the middle of October, at an arms bazaar in Moscow, Putin said, "Well, we're gonna add 40 new ICBM missiles this year to our strategic forces." Well, what they're doing is they're replacing 40 old missiles with 40 of the new ones. And earlier in the month, he was said, we're going to, he basically tried to discourage Trump from following forward on President Obama's modernization of our nuclear arsenal by saying we're going to have to neutralize that by upping our game even more. So, look, we've agreed to a limit, and the Russians have modernized their system. Obama responded properly by modernizing our system. President Trump is well advised to say to the Russians, nothing you can say or do is going to keep us from continuing to modernize and strengthen our systems. And I hope he also says, we're not going to be, by your language, we're not going to be discouraged from our missile defense
Well, let me
systems
share with
either.
you and the viewers, Karl, a letter that Vladimir Putin sent to Donald Trump. It was effectively a Christmas greeting, and I'll share some of it here. "I hope that after you assume the position of President of the United States of America, we will be able, by acting in a constructive and pragmatic manner, to take real steps to restore the framework of bilateral cooperation in different areas, as well as to bring our level of collaboration on the international scene to a new level." In other words, he seems to be making an overture here, hoping to get a clean slate, perhaps with Donald Trump. Donald Trump responded positively, saying, "A very nice letter from Vladimir Putin. His thoughts are so correct. I hope both sides are able to live up to these thoughts, and we do not have to travel an alternate path." Is there a little bit of a threat in that? In other words, he's saying, and I hope we do not have to travel an alternate path?
Yeah, well, look, this is the trouble with 140-character statements. Twitter statements don't have the ability to have enough language in them that would be clear. I hope it is a message to Putin. I hope it's backed up by a belief of the president-elect of you have been adventurous in you've taken Crimea, violating international norms. You are threatening Ukraine. You are threatening and harassing our allies in the Baltics who are members of NATO, to whom we have a specific commitment to defend. You are using your muscle and your power around the world against our interests. Stop it. And if you want to be our friend, then act like our friend and knock some of the stuff off.
Let me ask you about President Obama in this respect, shifting gears a little bit. He gave an interview with The Atlantic, and in this interview, he took aim at Fox, also Rush Limbaugh, and said basically the characterization of him by Fox, for example, is going to affect his legacy, will taint his legacy. And I quote, in 2008, I was never subjected to the kind of concentrated vilification of Fox News. You started to see that kind of prism being established towards the end of the 2008 race. And obviously, almost immediately after I was elected, it was deployed in full force. You and I have talked about this, Carl. I mean, to me, I see a little bit of the president playing the victim here. In other words, it's Fox's fault that he's going to have a legacy that's tainted, has nothing to do with him himself.
Yeah, Trish, I know you're in the Christmas spirit because you didn't quote the worst parts of President Obama's remarks to The Atlantic, in which he basically says Fox and the conservative media caused otherwise right-thinking, sensible white voters to come into opposition to him because we appealed to their anxieties and their fears, and we told them that he said the whole issue of Obamacare was that we're going to take away their health care and give it to in order to provide free stuff to other people. In other words, in this lengthy interview, he basically says Fox and Limbaugh caused white voters to react in a bigoted, racist way because they to a black man being president of the United States. And I found this interview wholly offensive, enormously condescending, and wrong-minded. Now, you know, I know we're concerned because we're at Fox. You're a Fox anchor. I'm a Fox contributor, and he's accusing Fox. But what's worse is his belief in this interview that if you're opposed to his policies, it's only because you're racist, bigoted, fearful, anxious, and dumb. And, you know, you can't disagree with Obamacare because you don't want the government to take over your health care, and you didn't want to lose your doctor, lose your plan, have your premiums go sky high, and put in place a program that's financially sustainable. You're a racist.
Do you think he's deliberately? I mean, it's very political, right? He's trying to create this division, but that didn't work for Hillary Clinton.
Yeah, totally. No, and look, but Obama thinks it'll work for him because he's a silver-tongued devil and he's gotten away with it before. I mean, you read that interview and it is filled with straw man arguments. I pointed out the one on Obamacare. It's not the whole argument. He says is that people were fearful that I was going to take away their health care and give to people with free. And I mean, no, people had real misgivings about this program and legitimate, rational reasons for opposing it. But the president will not give his critics the benefit of the doubt. They're stupid, they're dumb, they're racist. They can't have an honest disagreement with
Well, you know, he should have been thinking long and hard about the decisions he made. That's what ultimately will affect his legacy.
Yeah, history's not going to be. He's a young man, and history is not going to be kind to him. His legacy is going to go poof in a very short period of time where it can be reversed, and where it cannot be reversed, as in the Middle East, we're going to be dealing with the debris and the fallout for years to come.
Karl Rove, thank you so much. Good to have you here.
You bet.
Merry Christmas.
Thank you.
President-elect Donald Trump, he's back at Mar-a-Lago right now. He's conducting more meetings, high-level meetings. In fact, just a short time ago, he finished, a round of golf with Tiger Woods. Fox News correspondent Peter Doocy has the very latest for us from West Palm Beach. Well, that's pretty interesting. Golf with Tiger Woods.
Yeah.
Peter.
It is. Trish, this is one of the only times that the president-elect has left his Mar-a-Lago estate while he's been down here this Christmas week. He went about a mile down the road in Palm Beach to the Trump International Golf Course for this round of golf with Tiger Woods. They played 18 holes. There were 4 others, apparently. We're still waiting for their names. But the transition team tells us that it was Tiger Woods, who lives in Jupiter, Florida, nearby, requesting the game. Now, Woods, obviously one of the most famous athletes in the world, but Mr. Trump has a new message for anybody trying to say that his upcoming inauguration is going to lack star power. He says this, quote, "The so-called A-list celebrities are all wanting tickets to the inauguration, but look what they did for Hillary. Nothing. I want the people. Mr. Trump is also now saying that he is ready to move on from the notoriously expensive F-35 fighter jet program, tweeting that he wants Boeing to come up with an alternative. He met with Boeing and Lockheed, the maker of the F-35, CEOs earlier in the week, and it seems one of those meetings went better than the other one, the Boeing one. The president-elect is also making a lot of decisions for somebody who hasn't even been sworn in yet, and his newly minted press secretary, Sean Spicer, who just got the job yesterday, says that the president-elect is not breaking any kind of protocol by asking the current president for permission to say stuff.
No, he's the president-elect. He doesn't need to check with people. But I will say this. The President Obama and his team have been unbelievably gracious to the president-elect and his team. We respect the fact that there's one president at a time. But this president is not going to sit back and just wait for things to happen. He's going to get things done.
Some other news today. The Eric Trump Foundation, run by one of Donald Trump's sons, has announced that they're going to stop fundraising to avoid the appearance of a conflict of interest because Eric Trump now admitted in an interview that he can see why some people might think a donor would be possibly seeking access to his dad, the next president. Well, his dad, the next president, is talking about this, and he thinks that it is ridiculous that his son has to stop raising money for sick kids just because some people are worried about a possible appearance of a conflict of interest. Trish?
All right. Thank you so much, Peter. Good to see you. All right. Everyone, the Islamic refugee responsible for the deadly Christmas market attack in Berlin has been killed overnight. It happened during a shootout in Milan. Back here at home, Americans are a little on edge. I mean, after ISIS reportedly is calling on lone wolf attacks for churches this Christmas. And guess what? A tool that could have helped us better track these refugees in the United States of America, it has just been scrapped by President Obama. Following the 9/11 attack, many foreigners, largely from Muslim countries, were required to register with U.S. authorities. Well, guess what? Obama just did away with that program. Thank you very much. Joining me right now, Fox News contributor and executive editor of the Weekly Standard, Fred Barnes. Fred, can you just do away with something like that? Done?
Sure, but Donald Trump can actually recreate it if he wants to. I'm not sure he will. I don't think he needs it. He's going to have his own immigration policy, and I think it's going to be a tough one. He's not going to ban all Muslims. He's not going to have a Muslim registry. He doesn't need those. One of the things he needs to do is say, look, we do not need to invite Syrian refugees to the United States. We know what happened in Europe. It was terrorists who got in with the Syrian refugees who produced the terrorist attacks in 2015 in Paris and in Brussels.
But Fred, I mean, the concern is there could be people already here. I mean, President Obama has aggressively been working to bring more and more Syrian migrants here. And we have certainly plenty of people that come into this country. You think about San Bernardino, right? That guy, that terrorist wife came from Pakistan, and no one fully checked her out, and she waltzed right in.
Well, look, you have to have a tougher system. I mean, look at Europe, where terrorists who are very difficult to deport are wandering, roaming all over Europe. And I mean, look at the guy who did.
So what is that tougher system, though, Fred? Because, you know, if you're not tracking people that come into this country from sketchy places, how do you know who's here?
Well, look, you can track an awful lot of them, and when there's which was not being done in Europe, and enough of it is not being done here.
But we've had the tools to do that. I guess that's my point. We had something in place. It went in after 9/11 via the Patriot Act. Obama chose never to use it, which was a source of concern for many in law enforcement. I think at times the FBI would have liked to have had this there, but he didn't want to use it because he somehow saw this as Islamophobic, as racist, et cetera. And now he's just gotten rid of the program altogether. So if Donald Trump wants to put something similar back in, well, there's going to be a big hoopla about it.
Well, so what? I mean, look, Donald Trump's not going to worry about whether there's a lot of people criticizing him for doing stuff, because he knows one thing, and that is the American people want to be safe. They don't want terrorists coming in the country. That's why you have extreme vetting. That's why he's going to focus on countries that have exported a lot of terrorists in the past.
Does that mean places, though, like France and Brussels? I mean, you think about how easy it is to go from the U.S. to Europe. You got all these people living in Europe. Who's to say they wouldn't come here, Fred?
Well, some of them might, and that's where extreme vetting comes in. You know, for instance, the terrorists who was just shot earlier today in Italy, was already on the U.S. no-flight zone. You really have to concentrate on that. Look, there's a lot more that needs to be done domestically,
Absolutely.
but there's a great deal to do to keep terrorists from coming in the country. And that's where extreme vetting comes in, and that's where
I just, the president getting rid of this program, it was another tool we had that could have helped.
It's not a major... President Bush wasn't using it for most of his presidency, and if Trump wants to recreate it, he can. Look, this is a conceit of President Obama. This makes him feel better. It makes him so he can go around and saying he's tolerant and look what he did.
Well,
I don't think it amounts to much.
As Karl Rove said, this is a man whose legacy is definitely going to be challenged. I'm out of time, but Fred Barnes, so good to see you. Thank you, sir. Merry Christmas. All right, it's worth asking. Why did JetBlue go ahead and rebook him? I mean, he was a problem. He was harassing a passenger. And I have a feeling the airline may not have been so accommodating if a Trump supporter had verbally been harassing Chelsea Clinton on a flight. Just saying. Here to weigh in, Democratic Ohio State Senator Capri Cafaro and Evan Siegfried, the author of GOP, GPS. Good to see you guys. Capri, I don't care if you're a liberal, if you're a conservative. There's something in life called decency. And this guy didn't have it. I mean, why do you think JetBlue was so willing to give him a pass and rebook his flight? Why didn't they just say, buddy, you're out?
Well, I mean, I think at the end of the day, JetBlue is a business and made whatever business decision that they believed would, best suit their needs. Now, obviously, this gentleman's, if you can call him that, gentleman, this individual's conduct, is reprehensible.
Yeah,
you should never be.
I mean, this is a woman and her young children
and their kids traveling over the holiday season. It is absolutely inappropriate. They did the right thing by kicking him off. It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter if you're Ivanka Trump or some random person. The person needed to go. Now, as I said before, I think that JetBlue probably made the judgment call that they were going to, probably try to avoid more, harassment maybe from this guy about JetBlue, and that's why they probably put him on the next flight.
If this had been, any other kind of situation. I mean, Evan, if you get up and you're on a plane, you're harassing someone, forget about whether it was, somebody harassing Chelsea Clinton. Just say in general, like if someone starts harassing someone on a plane and they say, we got to escort you off, it's not like they say, okay, can we book you on another flight? You're done. You got to go find your own flight somewhere else. Maybe they give you a refund, but end of story.
Listen, today is Festivus, so we can air some grievances at JetBlue and this passenger.
Good point, Evan.
First bit is JetBlue has basically gone out and said they condone any passenger harassing any other passenger. We'll just take you off that particular flight and put you on another one. That's what their behavior just showed. And then if we actually look at this guy, Matthew Lisner, and his husband, Dan Goldstein, public university financed by tax dollars, and he might even be just contributing to the overall student debt crisis by teaching nonsense. So I think this is a big problem.
No, I mean, but it goes back to, once again, the left. And, Capri, I know you're a liberal, but you don't subscribe to this. I mean, what's amazing to me is how many in academia and in politics in general on the left think it's okay to shut out the other side. And you can do that via intimidation. It doesn't matter if you go after a young woman and her kids. It's okay because she's Ivanka Trump. But if it were the other way, I agree. But there's this hostility, there's this anger right now, and they think it is. It's like open season.
There's a sense of entitlement, that, because they feel that the election results are wrong, that they can go out and say and do whatever they want. We sometimes see that on the other side, too. But at the end of the day, people need to grow up, whether you're safe spacers or otherwise. We are built on civil discourse. And that is incredibly important. We need to have productive, respectful conversations about our differences.
And Evan, you are right. JetBlue just basically told us all they're willing to accommodate these crazy, hostile passengers, which should make us all perhaps think about traveling JetBlue in the future. Thank you so much, guys. I'm going to see you again in a little bit, but we got some breaking news right now. The United Nations has passed a resolution condemning Israel and demanding it stop settlement buildings. Donald Trump has urged the U.S. ambassador to veto the measure. Instead, the U.S. just didn't vote. guaranteeing the anti-Israel measure would actually get placed. So all of that happening right now. I want to turn to another story. Walmart under fire today for trying to profit off the Black Lives Matter issue. I'm not kidding. The retailer actually thought it was smart business to sell T-shirts featuring the word bulletproof on the back of Black Lives Matter T-shirts. I mean, let's just say that didn't go over so well with our nation's law enforcement, understandably. But guess what? They're still doing it. They're still selling all of this Black Lives Matter paraphernalia, profiting from it. Why would Walmart intervene in something like this and promote Black Lives Matter? We're going to explain next. All right, retail giant Walmart is pulling a controversial item from its website after receiving a complaint from the country's largest police organization, the Fraternal Order of Police, condemning this item, a shirt reading "Bulletproof, Black Lives Matter." But while they pulled that shirt, Walmart says it will continue selling other Black Lives Matter products. So why is Walmart trying to profit off a group that is igniting hate and igniting violence against our police? Joining me right now, the author of the brand new book, The Deplorables, Guide to Making America Great Again, Fox News radio host Todd Starnes. Nice title there.
Hey, thanks.
All right, so they pulled this one shirt, okay? Let's be clear. They're still selling a whole slew of them. You can go right on their website. You can see them. Black Lives Matter T-shirts. Why are they trying to feed off the division that this group has caused?
Well, that's a great point, and that's one the National Fraternal Order of Police brought up. They accused Walmart of turning a buck on strained relationships. Now, Walmart says in their defense, they actually sell All Lives Matter shirts on this online marketplace where the Black Lives Matter shirts are being sold. But the fact that
yeah, but come on. I mean, can't they just say, you know, we'll leave the almighty dollar behind on this one, and we'll just dismiss ourselves from this debate? Because let's face it, I think a lot of people in the police force right now feel as though Black Lives Matter is effectively a hate group that has encouraged this hostility and encouraged violence against the police.
Well, they certainly have, and of course we've seen the video footage of the marches, the Black Lives Matter marches, where they were calling in some cases for violence against police officers. So yes, I think there's a valid argument there. But quite frankly, Walmart, they're playing loose with the facts here, because back in October, I did a story about a company that was selling All Lives Matter's bumper stickers on that same marketplace, Walmart's marketplace. They actually removed those bumper stickers. They said those bumper stickers were offensive. Well, after we did our story on FoxNews.com, Walmart had a change of heart, and they allowed them to sell those bumper stickers. But then the month before that, in September of this year, Trish, you remember the Walmart in Georgia, where a police officer's daughter wanted to get a cake made for a retirement party, and Walmart bakers refused to make that cake because it said Blue Lives Matter, and they consider that to be offensive.
So, you know, someone at Walmart has sort of taken a political tone to some of these decisions. It seems to me that there's really no place for that. I mean, you're trying to serve your customers, serve these consumers. If they want to go buy a Black Lives Matter T-shirt, why can't they just do it somewhere else?
It seems that Walmart's indignation is rather selective in these cases. And quite frankly, the home of low prices, in my opinion, is the home of no class.
No class. All right. Todd Starnes,
Thanks,
good to
Trish.
see you. Thank you so much. It's a long-held tradition, everyone, that the nation comes together on Inauguration Day to support our new president. So why is former President Jimmy Carter the only ex-president to RSVP to the celebration? Are the Clintons and former President George W. Bush still nursing hurt feelings from the bitter election and considering snubbing the president-elect? That's next. You know, there's less than a month until Donald Trump's inauguration, but so far, only former President Jimmy Carter has actually RSVP'd, while George H.W. Bush has declined, citing his age. Bill Clinton and George W. Bush are still deciding whether or not they should go. Granted, you know, this was a very heated election. We know that. You had blistering attacks on all sides. But isn't that even more reason, if you think about it, for everybody to come together right now, for everybody to support the new president, to look forward for the good of the country? Back here with me, Democratic Ohio State Senator Capri Cafaro and Evan Siegfried, the author of GOP GPS. You know, Evan, I think you're an interesting one to talk to on this, because you were very anti-Trump right up until the very end. But then Trump won, and you're now supporting our president-elect.
Yes.
So as someone who has had to go through this whole healing process yourself, what would you tell Bill Clinton and George W. Bush?
Well, I think that it is up to them personally and to basically figure out what they're comfortable with. I think that it would also be very nice for the nation to see all of our former presidents together celebrating the office itself, even if you don't like the man occupying the office. That's a patriotic thing to do, and it would be very smart, and it might not help heal the divide, but it's a good step. It's the journey of 1,000 miles.
It's your country.
Agreed.
It's an incredible office. It's an incredible moment. You agree with that, Caprice? So what's holding these guys up? And are they just being petty?
I think a little bit of it may be petty and personal. I mean, you know, as you mentioned at the beginning of the segment, this has been a very challenging and contentious election cycle. You know, both Bushes, obviously, you know, Jeb was he's in the crosshairs during the primary, and then obviously, you know, the acrimony surrounding Clinton's in the general election. So I think that there is some, you know, harbored resentment there and some hurt feelings, so to speak. I think at the same time, though, I think some of these former presidents may be apprehensive because they are uncertain about the ability for President-elect Trump to do the job, and they don't want to be present as part of his legacy. I'm not necessarily agreeing with that point, but I think that may be part of the motivating factor.
That's what's going on. Do you think it has something to do with family? I mean, think about it. Bill Clinton, his wife got beat.
No, that's right.
George Bush, his brother got beat.
Same thing. Maybe we should have some new people that aren't Clintons and Bushes running for president, which I think is one of the reasons why Donald Trump was successful.
Yeah, isn't it
you know,
amazing?
here's the thing. If these folks, if our former presidents are apprehensive about President-elect Trump's ability to execute the job, maybe it is their patriotic obligation to help him assume this solemn duty of being the president of the United States. There's only a handful of people that have been in that circumstance. They could be of great service to this nation if they feel that, you know, he has shortcomings. Right. They can help guide him, Democrat or Republican, and I think it's their job.
One thing that Presidents Bush and Clinton should consider is the fact that Jimmy Carter is going. And Jimmy Carter, he is very far to the left, and he came out very hard against Donald Trump in many of his statements.
One of the classiest men around.
Yes, I agree 100%. And it was very nice to see him say, yeah, I'm going to go. I'm going to put aside partisan differences. This is a fun event where the nation comes together and says, let's move forward together.
Yeah, it would be pretty, I think, petty of them not to do it. Hopefully, they'll come through. We'll see. Thank you so much.
We hope.
Evan and Capri, thank you so much.
Guys.
All right. President-elect Donald Trump tweeting, quote, the so-called A-list celebrities are all wanting tickets to the inauguration, but look what they did for Hillary. Nothing. I want the people. So are celebrities really begging for tickets? Is that really happening, or is he just trying to say that? Will the campaign actually hand him over if they are begging for him? Here with an inaugural preview is Allie Pardo, press secretary for the Presidential Inaugural Committee. Allie, welcome.
Hi, thanks so much for having me today.
I want you to name names. All right, I'm curious. Who's asking for tickets?
Oh, I don't have names for that. We're still in the planning stages, but I will say this. We've had a huge amount of interest from people all over the country, all different types of people, supporters, people who maybe weren't on board at the beginning. But this is about unifying the country, about unifying America, and celebrating this moment, this historic moment, and really how lucky we are to have this democracy and this peaceful transfer of power.
You know, we were just talking to Capri Cafaro, as well as Evan Siegfried, about which presidents might actually be there, which ex-presidents. We know Jimmy Carter's going to be there, but so far, Bill Clinton, George Bush, they haven't RSVP'd. Are they going to come?
Well, you know, I think I'll go back to what Mr. Trump, President-elect Trump said, which is this is about the people. And every single person who wants to be there and who wants to celebrate with us and who wants to unify the country, we hope that they can come. We hope that and we welcome them to come. And that's kind of what we're here excited for and everything we do about
that's
planning.
Great. And, you know, look, these celebrity, politicians that, are still reeling from the fact that Hillary Clinton didn't win the thing, and Bill Clinton, it's his wife. You can understand some of it, but at some point you got to be a bigger person about this stuff because it's your country that we're talking about, and this is quite something. This is part of history with the inauguration. That said, when you look at Hollywood, even the Rockettes, apparently, so the Rockettes, they're going to perform, right? And there's one Rockette that apparently is all up in arms about it, issued a big response on Instagram saying she didn't want to be forced to have to dance at the inauguration. You know, and now the head of the Rockettes is coming out saying, look, we're not going to force anybody to do anything. This is an inauguration in many ways that's unlike anything else that we've seen historically. Is this an opportunity for you to hopefully cross over some of this division?
Well, absolutely, and that's exactly what everything we're doing is about. You know, we have the Mormon Tabernacle Choir coming to perform, and they're amazing, and no one really sings, you know, American songs quite like they do, and I think it was President Reagan who said that just like that. And with the Rockettes, I mean, they had more people apply to come and perform than, and then they even had slots to come out and perform with us. So we're excited about every single person that we're announcing being here. But like I said, this is about the people, unifying the people, and unifying the people behind the movement that got President-elect Trump elected. And so,
can I just jump in with one more question?
Absolutely.
You know, Donald Trump comes from a TV background. I mean, he hosted a tremendous show that had tremendous success. He understands the value of the message. He understands the value of the sort of pomp and circumstance. So with that in mind, what should we all expect? I mean, you mentioned the choir. Is this going to be a real show?
Absolutely. It's going to be a huge show, and it's going to be a show that celebrates all different types of Americans. And next week, we're going to have huge announcements, whether it's on the parade or a welcome celebration, and how we're really bringing in people from everywhere in this country, as well as, you know, President-elect Trump, who, you know, this is his moment with the American people to show why he was elected, and that we're going to get to work on day one. And that's what this inauguration is about, getting to work on day one and following through on the promises that we made all campaign.
All right, Allie, we're going to be watching. We'll be looking for more announcements. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks so much for having me.
All right, Rudy Giuliani downplaying rumors today that he's heading to the FBI to replace Director James Comey. Our very own Charlie Gasparino has been all over this story, breaking news left and right. He is going to tell you exactly what's going on and whether you're going to see Giuliani in D.C. Stay with me. I'm back in 2. Okay, there's a lot of speculation right now. It's all growing in the FBI that President-elect Donald Trump wants Rudy Giuliani, former mayor of New York, to replace James Comey as FBI director. When asked about it today, Giuliani said this. Watch.
Be a lot of speculation, but I'll let you know. I'll let you know if I change my mind, but I haven't changed it.
Okay, so not quite shooting down the rumors, but trying to. What's really going on? Charlie Gasparino has been channeling all his sources, and he's got some intel for us.
Well, we were first to report that inside the FBI, that's what senior people are saying, that, you know, Rudy Giuliani has at least indicated somewhat to President-elect Trump that he'd be interested in that job if he was to serve in the administration. I like Rudy's. Listen, I'm a big admirer of the mayor. He's a very astute politician. That was a classic non-denial. You know, it's like, you know, I'm not going to. He confirmed the speculation. He confirmed everything, and he's not been presented with the job yet officially. So, listen, I think, listen. I never thought he would be a good Secretary of State. You know, I don't think that's really in his wheelhouse. Now, I know that's the job he wanted. And, you know, far be it for some schmucky reporter for me to pass judgment on what Rudy Giuliani, the great ex-mayor of New York, should do. But I always thought, you know, he should be Attorney General, Homeland Security. And
well, you know, I think a lot of people thought that. I mean, when you think about his wheelhouse and what he's
by the
good
way,
at.
and this would be good.
This would be good, yeah.
Rudy Giuliani draws, listen, let's be real clear about this man as a law enforcement official. For many years, not just when he was U.S. Attorney for the Southern District, this guy took on the mob, the toughest mob cases around. Sure. Rudy Giuliani was in the forefront of it. He took on government corruption when he was U.S. Attorney for the Southern District. He took on Wall Street corruption. Many Wall Streeters might not like the fact that he was the guy that, for all intents and purposes, put Michael Milken behind bars. It was his prosecution of Drexel and Milken that he was eventually out of office, no longer the U.S. Attorney when it happened, but he's the guy that got the ball rolling. This guy, in terms of law enforcement, is the best law enforcement official maybe we've seen in generations. So is Donald
Trump seriously considering this?
This is what I hear. I hear, and I'm hearing this, just so you know, I'm hearing this more from inside the FBI, that what they're hearing inside the FBI is that Trump is considering a replacement of Comey, and that replacement
look, I mean, Comey, let's face
Trump.
it.
I have not got this from anybody.
He made a lot of people angry, and as the nation works towards this unification and healing, etc. James Comey has a lot of daggers.
Let's point out why he did that, and let me tell you what the average FBI person would say. Not even average. He came in and he essentially exonerated Hillary Clinton over her use of a private email, as Secretary of State didn't say it broke the law, which a lot of people thought it did. Then he came back and reopened the case just 2 weeks before the election and threw it into, and a lot of Democrats think he cost her the election. I don't believe that to be the case.
But let's be real. But
let's be real clear here. James Comey, for a good reason, has a lot of support within the FBI. The troops like him. Doesn't mean they won't like Rudy, but I think that sort of flip-flop has made him among the Trump people, from what I understand, it puts him in a very tenuous position.
Charlie Gasparino, thank you. Okay. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
I'll see you soon.
All right.
All right. We're going to take a quick break. 2 weeks?
Yeah, I get 2 weeks.
Who gets a 2-week vacation?
I have a very lucrative long-term contract, as I remind all my trolls, including lots of vacation.
Well, I'll be here. I'll see you back here in 2. Can you believe it? This weekend is Christmas. It hits me every year, I got to tell you. From Thanksgiving to Christmas, wow, time flies, right? So this weekend's Christmas, don't forget, and it's the start of Hanukkah. Take a look here. We wanted to show you this video that we have, our picture of an Oregon family that's celebrating with their Christmas tree. And check that out, right? It looks like the Christmas tree is going through the house, continuing on up into the sky. Well, they actually have a hole in the roof to fit the 20-foot tree. They cut the tree in half, and then or I should say they don't have a hole. They cut the tree in half, putting the top part on the roof and then the bottom part there in the living room. Pretty neat. The photo has gone viral, which is, I guess, how we saw it. Anyway, it's so good to have you here. It's so good to have you watching. Make sure you tune in tonight. I'll be on Wall Street Week at 8 p.m. I'm co-hosting with Gary Kaminsky. Before we go, I just want to thank you all, because we have had a record year, an incredible year here at the Intelligence Report, and we have had an incredible year at Fox Business. We have grown nearly 100% in total viewers, unlike any other cable network out there. And in contrast, to put it all in perspective, the competition, CNBC, they're down. They're down 7% in viewers. So we're up about 100 and they're down 7. And you know why? Well, we're better. But it's because of you. It's because you recognized that we're better. So thank you to every single one of you for tuning in at 2 p.m. every day, for DVRing this show every day. It's because of you that we are succeeding. And I appreciate it. And everyone here at Intel, the Intelligence Report, we appreciate it. We do hope you have a wonderful Christmas and a wonderful Hanukkah this weekend. The market, well, I don't know if it's going to hit 20,000, but, there's still an hour left of trading here as we head into the Christmas Eve weekend. Connell McShane is in for Liz Clayman. He's at the NYSE. And Connell, I'll keep my fingers crossed, but we'll see.
It's okay. I'm not going to take it personally. My week, I was not able to deliver 20,000. Maybe Liz comes back, whatever. Those are fine numbers you just reported on, though. It's like Fox Business 20,000. Well done.
Amazing, right? Fantastic.
And Merry Christmas to you, and Happy New Year and all the rest of it. So good to see you, Trish.
You too.
And